America, we gotta get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Welcome. Come on in. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Had nothing to do with Lev Parnas, had everything to do with Joe Walsh. I am a technological knucklehead. Come on in, everybody. We got a great little live for you tonight because I don't throw this word around often. In these fucked up, crazy Trump times we live in, a lot of people have had crazy roads, but a lot of people have really kind of stood up and been heroic. Lev Parnas is one of them. Whistleblower, author, former businessman. Hey, Lev, thanks for joining me tonight.
Joe, thank you so much. So humble. Thank you. Appreciate those kind words. And I mean, we live in a crazy time right now. It's a lot of stuff going on, and it's just like I can't even express to you to tell you that times like this, for truth tellers, for whistleblowers, for independent journalists, for anybody that wants to speak up and speak their words, it's like one of the most dangerous days that I've never imagined we could be living in. Things that if you told me this 10 years ago, I would laugh at you and say this is something that could never happen in the United States.
Well, and I want everybody listening to us as people come in, I want to emphasize that word dangerous that you said. I'll do what Michael Cohen does. Everybody punch that red heart. Punch that red heart. Welcome. Come on in. Lev Parnas and I are going to get into a number of different things. He's a fascinating guy to speak with because he's been on the inside. And he's a whistleblower and he's a truth teller. I came out publicly against Trump 7 years ago. And you're right, Lev. You said that word dangerous. It's dangerous publicly to oppose him, isn't it? Explain that.
Well, Donald Trump is one of those individuals that for him, it's not even about, and that's why I write about in my Substacks all the time. I talk about for him, different people have different agendas and highs, you call, or wants. Some people it's power, money, greed. For Donald Trump, it's attention. It's one of those things that people don't even realize. Yes, it's power. Yes, he likes the money. Yes, but there's this one thing that he really, really lacks, and that if you really keep a close attention, you'll see he's lacking that attention, that gratification of the media, of everybody saying you did a great job, Donald. You're the man, like Donald. Like he has these dreams. I guarantee you, where in his dream, like everybody's clapping, and he's like, and that's why you see.
Hey, Lev,
Yeah.
let me cut you real quick because that's really interesting. You think with Trump, it's more about craving the attention than the power or the money?
Oh, absolutely. See, because what happens is when you get to a point when you already have that type of money and that type of power, that's why you see a lot of these very rich and wealthy people do a lot of sometimes very sick and perverted stuff, and then because the minds start growing. Because when you have that type of power where you feel invincible, when you have that type of money where you could pay anybody, get away with anything or do anything, you start, and not everybody, you have a lot of people that they do good things with that, and donate and try to stop hunger and and stuff like that. And then you have people that have that devil inside them, and that's why I talk about it. Doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're a Republican, Democrat, congressman, president, doctor, lawyer. Just because you have a title in front of you doesn't mean you're not a human being. You still were born. You still have that, and that's why you're good until you turn bad. And that's why you say, oh, he was a good cop for 30 years and now look.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the type of scenario, life, that's what life is about. With Donald Trump, he's always, his whole life, he's craved that attention, because you got to look back at when he was growing up with his father, he was an authoritarian type of a household.
Yeah.
That didn't give him, he not only did not get the attention he was craving, but he got the opposite because that's why Donald wanted to
Hmm.
go to Manhattan, wanted to do the big buildings. It was that big complex of trying to because not just trying to make money, but get the attention of doing something that his father didn't do or somebody didn't do. And then he had Roy Cohen, Roy Cohen, his
Yeah.
mentor, that taught him then how to take that attention and turn it into a tool, an evil tool of being able to use it for. And through the years, he's grown and he's perfected, and that's why he's able to manipulate the media the way he does, and able to because it's part of the craving of that attention of you know getting the justification for the media or the newspapers to write,
Yeah.
oh, Donald Trump, and that's why a lot of people will say why he's chasing the Nobel Peace Prize so badly.
Right.
It's not the point that it doesn't do anything for him. It's not going to change, but for him, it means a lot because it's like something that proves that he achieved something. He because Donald Trump was always, and back in the streets of Brooklyn and in New York, we had the saying, "Fake it till you make it."
Yeah.
But everybody assumes that only from poor people. You assume that poor people fake it until they make it rich, but no, anybody, at just different levels. Donald Trump was also a fake it till you make it type of guy, but he was in a different realm. So yes, he had millions. He was very wealthy. Had a lot, but he wanted to play with the billions. He wanted to play with the big boys, and he was never
Yeah.
recognized. He never had that liquidity. He never had that type of money, and that's why he faked it till he made it in that world. On different levels. So it was always about the attention.
It's really interesting. By the way, everybody listening, keep coming in. What's so great about Lev Parnas is um, we're all in this world right now where we're trying to stop what Trump is and what the Republicans have become. Voices like Lev's are so fucking important because Lev has been on the inside. So everybody listening who subscribes to me, I want you subscribing to Lev Parnas here on Substack as well. Lev, when did you first meet Trump?
So I met Trump over the years, growing up in New York,
Okay.
passing by. Then when I moved to Florida, I went to certain events we were at together in the VIP section from that standpoint. But where I really became close was in 2015. We held
Hmm.
a fundraiser for him when he announced he was going to run for president. A month before he actually the election in October, right when he had that Billy Bush video
Yeah.
that came out. He was at his lowest point. The numbers
Yeah.
were down. We held a fundraiser in Florida, and that was when we had that dinner where he was supposed to be there for like a half hour. He ended up staying for an hour and a half, and there were maybe 20 people in the room, and me and him just started talking like two guys on the streets of New York. And that's when I kind of say I got Trumpanized, cultinized, meganized,
Yeah.
to and basically after that, for that next month, I was with him every day, traveling from his rallies to being front row when his debate, the third debate with Hillary Clinton in Vegas. I was there. I was with him and the Hilton when he won, the night that he won. So I mean, it kind of went from 0 to 100 really quickly.
It went, Lev, your experience went really quickly. But even then, even when you were caught up in it, and look, I voted for him in 2016. Did you, when you were with him and you listened to him, could you tell then that he was a bullshitter and that he, even though you liked him, that he lied a lot?
It was okay. We discounted it. See,
Yeah.
that's the whole
Yeah.
thing. It was okay because first of all, when you're part of the cult, you
Yeah.
discount everything. So, and I was hardcore cultinized. Yeah, I was one of the leaders of that cult. So for me,
Yeah.
everything looked hunky dory, peachy dory when it came to Trump. But I think even at that point, I think with the world, we were just so tired. Americans were tired of like the Clintons, of the Bushes, that he came in it was like the right time,
Yeah.
that perfect wave where people nobody could understand. See, the thing that I think, Joe, where people really couldn't believe and what we're seeing happen today is that we lost the guardrails. That America
Yes.
doesn't have the three levels of power, the guardrails, the protection against what we've always said. What made America always different than anything in the world is the way our Constitution was written, the way our forefathers put it together, where we had a Congress, we had a Senate, and we had the executive branch.
Yep.
And that was meant to protect, so this way we never have, authoritarianship, dictatorship, and stuff. So that's where I think the biggest issue that I think we're seeing that's being played out that nobody could imagine. I mean, because Trump is not the first crazy man that ran for office. I mean, if we go
Right.
look back at history, I'm sure we'll find plenty of
Yeah.
crazy nuts that have different ideas, and plenty of them might have even had their own money, billionaires, all kinds of stuff running, and it never worked. Never worked because was it but this time Trump had something different. He used their own politics against them, because the politicians, and very well because you were in that cesspool,
Yeah.
and they, even though they play dirty, but they still have certain codes that they think everybody has to play on. And
Yep.
that's why it really
Yep.
doesn't, like during the elections, you could go hard at each other, but once the elections are over, there's a certain code that comes in, and everybody kind of says, okay, because you won, if we win, you have to respect that, or we win.
Yeah.
Just like with this perfect example, redistricting. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a common understanding. You do it beginning every 10 years. It's
Yep.
something that, yes, both sides do it, but it wasn't written in stone that you can't do it every year or whenever you want to. But there was an understanding, which all of that went out the window. All of those
Yeah.
things, it's the enablers, it's all of that allowed him to throw our constitutionals out the window. It's people like Stephen Miller, it's people like Jason Miller, it's people like
Yeah.
those that are behind the scenes like Russell Vaughn. It's people that
Yeah.
like the Cash Patels. I mean, Pam Bondi, that served. You're supposed to be somebody that served your whole life in the DOJ. And yes, you might not agree or not disagree, but to go to these extents where you're now rewriting, trying to
Yeah.
rewrite a history and a story when it comes to not only the Epstein, which is thousands of victims, all of these, you're not caring about that, but then you're also going into now trying to destroy this country even further by going back to 2016 into something that was looked at so many times. And that's not to say that the Democrats did everything right, because like me and Michael had
Yeah.
our conversation, he's very pissed off about the whole dossier, Steele dossier,
Yeah.
because he's in it. I understand him. I understand he has the right to. I tell him, you gotta chill out, brother, because that
Yeah.
still doesn't have to do with, there's still more facts in there that were
Yeah.
not what's it called. And I understand the pain that he's going through, because it comes, he was personally kind of, and they did lie about his
Yeah.
involvement in the situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I tell him, you guys, sometimes you can't confuse the two. But Michael's Michael,
Yeah.
and that's why we love him. You love him, you hate him, but he is who he is. And he does know Donald Trump better than most people out there. He spent more years and time with them.
Oh yeah.
So he knows how the man thinks, and what's it called.
What?
So
What? What, Lev? I've always wanted to ask you this, and tell me what you think you can tell me. I just from an outsider's perspective, watching Trump over the years, watching him again since he was sworn in, and how he's handled Ukraine, Russia. I've said on TV, I think Trump is a Russian asset. Michael Cohen disagrees with me. I don't mean Russia's paying him. I just believe like he's working for Putin. It's beyond he's got a crush on Putin. I think I think Putin's got something on him. Whatever it is, he's on Putin's side. Give me your take, whatever you can tell me on that relationship.
no, I'll tell you exactly. I mean, Putin doesn't have anything on him. That was one of the rabbit holes the Democrats ran into, like the P tape and all of that, which they
Yeah.
should. Trump doesn't love Putin either. It's not about that. Trump admires. Trump wants what Putin has. It's
Mm.
you gotta say Trump wants what Kim Jong Un has.
Yeah.
Trump wants that nobody to contradict him. He doesn't want the media to make fun of him. He doesn't want anybody to doubt him. He wants to have his victory parades. He doesn't want to be doubted or contradicted. He want,
Would he like to be a dictator?
that's exactly what he wants to be.
Okay.
And that is why he has such an epiphany for these people. Now, with that said, I say it very clearly. Trump plays a dual role. Trump is a useful idiot. And
Okay.
B, and this is very important, he's a student of dictatorship. So what Trump is, by wanting to be what Putin has, he automatically relates to what Putin does. So he can relate that Putin wants to take over Ukraine because Trump wants to take over Canada. Trump wants to take
Yeah.
over Greenland. And if he
Yeah.
could have it in his way, he'd send in the military and take him over in 3 days and show and say, oh, you couldn't take over Kiev in 3 days, but I took over Canada in 3 days. If he could, he would do that. And that's, trust me, where, we're leading. So but if you watch what he's been doing, he's been actually doing what Putin and those Kim Jong Un and these dictators do in their countries, and he's slowly but doing it here. He's started off by first thing he does is cause chaos and disruption. He
Yeah.
divided our country. Two is he goes after the free press. He goes after independent journalists. He goes after people, truth tellers, people that bring information. Because if you take away information from people, they don't have anything to compare it to. We become an echo chamber, and that's how Hitler and all of these dictator Mussolini. That's why they're able to empire, because they control the radios, the televisions, the newspapers, and they're
Yep.
able to control the narrative. Then you go on and you disrupt your financial systems. Now I know a lot of people might say, "Well, no, we're doing probably the best. Look, the market's up." But and Joe tells you all the time, and I tell you all the time, and anybody with half a brain will tell you that this is right now a snapshot. This is,
Yeah.
it's not reality. Yes, we might be doing it, but eventually we are going to pay. We might not pay today or tomorrow, but eventually somebody, might be our kids, it might be us. But what he's doing with the tariffs and what he's doing, it's not only illogical and there's no common sense to it, but every financial, there's nobody out there except for people in his administration that say that this is a good idea. Not only on the standpoint from financially destroying our economical, what's it called, stability, but also the relationships all over the world that he is.
Well, then what's the deal? Stop you there, Lev. So on Trump's tariffs, like, is he a true believer in this stuff? Because it's horrible policy, or is it part of just wreaking havoc on our economy?
It's part of the psychological destruction and warfare, because what the number one thing any authoritarian or dictator does is he has to take your mind away from you caring about your constitutional rights. So this way you're not
Ah.
out there, right? And what's the only thing that they could do to take away your thought about all of that is financial. Because if you have no food in the table, if we're looking at a depression or a recession, and all of a sudden you care, that's what most people care about, is feeding their family, feeding their kids, and that becomes the number one thing. And that's why if you take a look at even just for today, I mean, when was the last time you heard anybody talk about Roe versus Wade? I
Yeah.
mean, and that was 6 months ago, prior to the election, was a number one subject that we talk about, and that was a right that was taken away from all of these women all over the country. I mean, that even Russia today, the women have more rights when it comes to their bodies and abortion and stuff than you have in the United States, a free country. So we don't even talk about that, and that's part of it, because he's doing different things by taking people off the street. That's another constitutional right.
Yeah.
These are all havocs, to do it, and he keeps pushing the boundary. And then the Supreme Court is, giving him little bits of wins here, little undecisive, little, maybe not a win, but not a loss, like interpretation. Let's take it back. I mean, all of
Yeah.
these little things is part of the bigger picture. The bigger picture, what I talk about, and I think is the most important thing, that we need to keep our eye on the ball, and I tell everybody, because all of these things are important. All our constitutional rights are important. Russia, Ukraine important. Middle East is important. But right now, the most important thing we have going on, and it's playing out in front of our eyes, is called election reform. And Donald Trump, it's part of Project 2025. It's to be able to stay in power forever. It's
Yeah.
to be able
Explain
to
this.
Yeah.
Lev Parnas, I want you to drill down on this. I want everybody to hear this because this is so damn important and not enough people are talking about this. Continue, Lev.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is the one of the most important thing because Donald Trump understands that between the bill that he passed through that he calls beautiful, we call ugly. It's the polls on it are disgusting.
Yeah,
The Republicans, Democrats, it's a bipartisan issue. We all hate it. It's not, you could tell. Look what's happening at the town halls. Republicans are getting booed off their own stage by their own
yeah,
people in hardcore red states. So Donald Trump looks at the polls. He understands that his numbers are lower than it's ever been. He understands that in a fair right now race, he has no chance. But here's the problem: there's nobody on the Democratic side right now that's taking the reins and coming after him. I mean, yes, we have Gavin Newsom here and there trying a little bit here and there, but in reality, there's with the wins and the opportunity that Trump is giving with the breaks in his base right now. If we had somebody on the Democratic side come out and really go come out there and take the bull by the reins, I think Donald Trump would have a heart attack. He would have
what, Lev, in your mind, if things look horrible next year for Republicans, you have no doubt that he'll try to fuck with the elections or maybe even stop the elections from happening. Do you?
Well, he's already fucking with them. And the first
Yeah,
step he's doing is he's already redistricting and gerrymandering. You know what I'm saying? To
yeah,
Texas, Florida's next, other states,
yep,
and a lot of people are saying, but wait a second, what about Chicago and California? And this is the problem because I'm pissed off. I mean, I'm screaming at the top of my lung. Is like, why the fuck are they still talking about it? Why, if you take a look, put on CNN right now, the press release is, yes, Gavin Newsom and Pritzker and Holcomb said that if Texas does this,
yeah,
they're going
yeah.
to do it. What the fuck? Go do it. Why are we
Go
waiting?
do it.
Why do you care if Texas does it? They're going to do it. They're going to do everything in their power. They're trying to arrest you people. They're trying to get the FBI right now. The latest, right before we were going on, the latest breaking news is that now Trump has gotten the FBI is now involved, and now it's not only like everybody. I love how the pundits came out today. Oh, it's no big deal. They're safe in Chicago. First of all, people, you have to understand. What are they going to stay there a year? They have to stay. They can't show up in the state because the second they show up, they're
Right.
either arrested or they're going to have a quorum, and then they're going to get those 4 or 5 whatever congressional seats. So now you're saying 50 something people are going to be away from their families for a whole year now. Second
Yeah,
of all, today they announced that they got the feds now involved because they're now trying to implicate and go after Pritzker and them and saying that this is a bribery scheme where Pritzker is bribing officials to not do their constitutional job by going and hold. I mean, this is a ridiculous. I
yeah,
don't even know. I don't even know in what if we were living in a normal world, we wouldn't even be talking about. But with them controlling the courts, them controlling the DOJ, them controlling the FBI, them controlling the Marshal Services, the Bureau of Prisons. I mean, they control it all. Look at what they
and
did with Maxwell. Yeah.
and Lev, the place I used to work, Congress, they control Congress, and we really don't even have a functioning Congress right now. They all work for Trump. This is really scary shit.
I mean, I don't think I don't know. You might know better. I mean, I was not too much in politics, but from what I hear, we've never had such a, where you had the
N-
Congress, the Senate. I mean, just give up. There was always some integrity. I mean, even if you go into the Nixon eras, during the McCarthy, the
Yeah,
Nixon era, I mean, just think about people say Trump is worse than Nixon. But let's understand that for a second. There's a reason why Trump is worse than Nixon. You just didn't get a chance because there were people that had a backbone in the Republican Party that worked
yeah,
for Nixon, that stood up to him. Republicans in Congress and Senate stood up and were going to impeach him. They told him that you leave quietly or we will impeach you. They didn't allow him to stay in. They didn't enable him. Because if they could have done the same thing that they did with Trump, they could have basically made it into a sham
yeah.
congressional, enabled him to do it,
No,
and God knows where we would have been with Nixon.
No, Lev, you are spot on, my friend. We've never, ever had this. I came of age with Ronald Reagan, and I loved and adored Reagan. But you could be a Republican then and criticize Reagan. I don't remember a time in American history where if you criticized the leader of the party, you were basically kicked out of the party. And that's where we are now. And I never remember a time where the legislative branch, Congress, basically gave up their job and their power. Like I've never seen this.
And you know the crazy part, like where's I mean, little things, like just think about the crazy things he's doing. Like, forget about the seriousness, but firing an individual that gave you
Yeah.
your numbers. I mean, this is all a person does. Like, not because you found her to do something wrong. You didn't come out there and say, okay, she fudged the numbers. We're gonna indict her. We're gonna arrest her. Or this is no. You basically didn't like it. You didn't like the numbers. You didn't like the truth, and so you went ahead and you fired her. And it's like we're okay with. Like, I mean, like,
What? So Lev, what is that? Answer this question then. What is that? He loses an election and he won't accept the results. He gets bad jobs numbers and he says they're rigged. He was on CNBC this morning and he said he has a 71% approval record. He doesn't. What is it about him, Lev, that you know or guess or think, why can't he ever accept accountability when something goes bad or he loses an election? What is it about him that he can't do that?
well, see, that's an interesting part where you really have to understand what a New York mobster is. And I'm not saying that Trump is an actual New York mobster. He's not. He's far from it. But Donald Trump having Roy Cohen as his mentor
Yes.
and doing business with the people he did business with, like Fat Tony Salerno and others in the time, which are hardcore people, mobsters that you read about, talk about.
Yeah.
Uh, he learned a lot of certain things picked up because when you hang around, and this is from personal experience, I grew up in that world also, and I saw it happen, and it happened to me myself. When you live in that world, you look up to like the boss, the
Mhm.
godfather, the captain, whoever is on top of you, because usually that person has power. That person has something that you do. So
Yeah.
Donald Trump was very on a very high level of people there. The people around him, and like just I'll give you like little examples where Donald Trump picked up, and this is where you would see, a couple of we're hearing now tapes coming out of Donald Trump, where he's talking about to Epstein, where he was bragging about how he slept with married men's
Yeah.
wives,
Yeah.
his friends' wives, how he did that. So that's a big time mob thing. Like mobsters, like especially like godfathers and like captains, they would use that. They would always try to, they wouldn't care, who it was. They would try to sleep with somebody's wife to lower them, to degrade them, to like it's a kind of a thing, to say like I could take whatever is it's mine. That's why you even hear Donald Trump saying, like in the Billy Bush video, just because I'm famous or just because I could grab or I could do whatever I want.
Right.
That's that
Right.
mob mentality. Because back in the 70s and 80s, if you were a mobster, you could have done whatever you wanted, because back then they controlled 60s, 70s, until you had the RICO, until they all went to
Yeah.
prison. You
Yeah.
had them until they controlled the judges, they controlled the local beat cops, so you had nowhere to turn to, so
Hmm.
they could do whatever they want. And so it's that mentality that Trump goes into, and these little things you could see how he does it. And even in his first, I say Trump graduated. His first administration, he ran the White House like a mobster. His second turnaround is now like full-tone dictatorship, authoritarianship.
That's
You
a
know,
great, and Lev, that's a great way to put it. That's the difference in these two terms. And I think it was Roy Cohn who taught him Never say you're sorry. Never apologize. Always just keep lying, and eventually they'll believe the lie.
100%. And that's also part of the Stalin method. If you say something long enough,
Yeah,
strong enough, eventually people will start believing you. If you say, and that's what Donald Trump, he if you take a look at like when he's on the trail or when he's talking, he uses the same key
yeah.
words. It's the same words. They stole the election. Biden is Sleepy Joe Biden. Hunter Biden's laptop. It's these key words to bring people back to an attention to remind them of what it is and all of this mayhem that's going on. Then he
And
creates.
you know what's really sad, Lev? Republicans have all learned from him now. So they all do now the same things because it's worked for Trump. So they'll go on TV and they'll lie and they'll be cruel, and they'll never, ever apologize for anything. They've all learned from him. The whole party has.
I tell you honestly, I don't think there is a Republican Party. I think
Oh,
he
interesting.
destroyed. I think he destroyed the Republican Party. I don't think because in Trump's world, true Republicans, people like yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
are considered rhinos, like me, like
Yeah.
people that believe they had conservative values, or that were not hardcore full right, but still believe in conservative values. Those people are a lot of them are became either independent, a lot of them that vote because of one subject. It could be taxes, it could be crypto, it could be they all hate Trump themselves anyway, but they don't care
Yeah.
about the world, they don't care about Ukraine, they don't care about the Middle East, they don't look at those things. They care about that they could have a Rolls Royce in their driveway and send their kids to private school, and that's what they care about. So you have a lot of those, but true Republicans, I mean, who would you say would you still consider and say is because a true Republican would stand up to Trump. A true Republican wouldn't vote for Trump
Yeah.
because Trump
No,
because Trump is not a true Republican. I mean,
no.
Trump is not a Republican.
No, that's Lev, that's the great ironic thing. Trump isn't anything. He's just all about Trump. He's he has no real core philosophy. All the true Republicans have left. And as you said, they've become independents. Some like me, I became a Democrat 9 weeks ago to help the Democratic Party. But yeah, otherwise they're out of the party. I don't see, I'm a little older than you, my friend. I don't see a good Republican Party coming back in my lifetime. Do you?
No, that's why I agree with you. I made the comment that I think he destroyed the Republican Party because whatever it is right now, whatever, if it's MAGA, if it's a different Republican, but the Republican Party as we knew it, like they say, it's not your father's
Yeah.
Mobile anymore. For those of you old enough to remember that commercial, but
Yeah.
it's not. The values are different. It's a far right machine right now. It's not conservative values. It's destruction. It's Project 2025.
Yeah.
It's taking this country back 100 years. It's taking away women's rights. It's taking away immigrant rights. It's taking away a lot of rights that a lot of individuals fought so hard for so many decades and years to achieve. They're wiping it out with just an executive pen.
Well, and would you agree with me, Lev, that Trump doesn't necessarily believe in any of this shit? Like Project 2025, I doubt Trump really even knows what the fuck it is. Um, but people around him, they know what it is and they're pushing this shit. Do you agree with that?
100%,
Okay.
100%, because that's the whole key, and that's the difference between Trump first administration and now Trump 2.0. Because Donald Trump is just a face. You know what I'm saying to you? The people really running the shit, like, is Russell Vought, Stephen
Yeah.
Miller. They're the guys that are running Project 21. Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, she's part of running the machine that's running the implementing these what's called. Trump is out there on TV. He wants to sit there. He'd rather sit there for like 2 hours and ask go questions and debate you and call you scumbags and make fun of the press and do that. That's what he wants, and then go play golf and make fun of and talk about during his golf outing how Putin's scared of him and how he
Yeah.
could he got submarines now and nukes standing there, and if Medvedev does, I mean, this is this wise guy mobster mentality that I grew up in. Like, they were constantly lying, making yourself look bigger than the other guy, pretending somebody you're not, making it constantly, it's like trying to pretend whose balls are bigger. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's that mentality, like, and that's what Trump is till this day. Like, even if you take a look at some of the leaked audio we had where he was telling at his donors, telling him, "Oh yeah, I told Putin that I could bomb you," and and I told Xi that I could go after you. He never
Yeah.
said that. He never had those conversations. Trust me, I bet everything I have in the world that he never sat down and said, "Hey, Vlad," like they don't talk that way. He doesn't even have those conversations.
No.
That's why I think he is so right now frustrated with Putin is because when they speak to Putin, it's a totally different conversation. It's all flattery. See, Putin's a genius. Again, I'm not
No.
saying he's a genius or flat because I'm trying to credit Putin, but he's a professional. His job for his whole
He's
life was to turn people.
And Lev, you have no doubt that Putin knows exactly how to play Trump and manipulate Trump.
100%. They
Yeah.
studied him. See, that's another thing. Let me give you another example where people the fine line about Trump being an asset and
Yeah.
Trump being converted. So this is very important. So Trump, through his whole career life, has been some way or another associated to Russian
Hmm.
oligarchy, Russian businessmen, powerful Russian people, Russian gangsters, just all kinds of Russian, Soviet, even before it was Russia, when it was still the Soviet Union. His wife Ivana came from the old Soviet Union bloc. So there's a 100%. These are facts. Let's understand that's facts. The second fact is that Russia intelligence, the KGB, the FSB, because I know very well, and there's specialists that will tell you, Malcolm Nance comes on here, tells you about, they don't, even our own secret CIA, our services, they don't play around. Their job is to infiltrate other countries.
Yeah.
Just like we have our CIA agents all over the world, in Russia, spies, same way they have it here. And they target individuals like Donald Trump. Why? They target people that are powerful, that have vices, that are either alcoholics, drug addicts, money hungry,
Yeah.
corrupt, cheaters on their wives, and
Yeah.
what I mean. All of these vices, that that they could find, and a lot of people have them. That's why a lot of people. It doesn't matter, even some good
And
people.
Lev, these Russian dudes, they've been working and studying and working on Trump, his file for
For 40
years,
years.
correct?
For
Okay.
40 years. For
Okay.
40 years. And not just the
Wow.
Russians. Not just the
Wow.
Russians, the Chinese also. They
Yeah.
have this is what we do, just like we have over there. And Trump was one of these people because Trump had lots of vices. It was
Yeah.
easy for them. And one of
Yeah.
his biggest vices was money, and that Trump was willing to go across the line. Trump was willing to break the law. Trump was willing to work with mobsters in casinos. Trump was willing to work with mobsters building his buildings and having Roy Cohen teach him how to go. So Trump was willing. He was a perfect candidate. So of course the Russians have him, but they didn't have him to the point where they called him and said, "Hey, Donald, we need you to do this," or Donald. No, it didn't work like that. It,
Did
it
they?
worked.
Okay. I hear that, Lev, but Trump had to go to Russia, though, to get money way back when, right? Because he couldn't get money here. Is there any truth in that?
When he went to Russia the first time, it wasn't. It was in the early '80s. It was the
Yeah.
Soviet Union back then. It wasn't about money because
Ah, okay.
back then the Soviet Union was still closed. He couldn't get the money. There was no money. But he started feeling money from Russia in the 1990s when the fall of the
Okay.
Soviet Union and when Trump used his real estate properties as I mean, basically laundromats to allow these Russian oligarchs and shady mobsters, whatever you want to call them, that are now some of them that are now businessmen. Some of them are now
Yeah.
politicians. Some of them are very top, leaders in the Russian Federation. Some of them are in different countries like Ukraine and other ways. Because remember, back then it was the Soviet Union, so that's why Azerbaijan
Yep.
and Armenia and all of these, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all of these was part of the Soviet Union and it got all broken up. So, back then. So Trump, again, you have to understand, he went from seeing power on a local level, the way
Yeah.
mobsters ran it in New York, to in the 90s watching international money, worldwide money. Different it's a different type of money. It's a different type of power. It's a different type, he never saw somebody come in and buy 20, 30, apartments that cost $1 million a piece
Yeah.
and be willing to pay you 10, 20% over price and raise their own price and market
Yeah.
for their own selves. We never seen stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then he understood it. And then obviously, he had relationships with guys like Felix Sater. Felix Sater from Bayrock, somebody I know for 40 years. I did business with his father. I mean, he was connected to directly to a lot of these high-end, mobsters and Russian money that came in and Trump dealt with.
What do you think, Lev? What do you, I think Friday, Trump, remember, gave Putin that stupid 50-day, grace period, get your act together, Putin. I think time's up on Friday. Uh, they're saying that Putin and Trump are going to talk again this week before the deadline. I don't know, Lev. I could easily see Trump extending the deadline again. What do you think?
Well, yeah, this is not a real deadline. Let me tell you what really is happening. I actually wrote my Substack and exposed their whole little sham. Trump gave Putin 50 days because basically he gave up on Ukraine, and
Yes.
that's why he gave him full reign. It started dicking around with Ukraine with the weapons while Putin was bombarding him. Then this whole Epstein thing blows up. Trump doesn't know how to change the news cycle, what he needs to do to go after it. Simultaneously, he has what's it called? This tariff war going on all over the
Yeah.
country, world, with all these different countries. So the two major countries that we don't talk about, but where he's having the biggest problems in this tariff war is China and
Hmm.
India. So
Yeah.
China and India, the two major countries right now that he's negotiating where he can't get a tariff deal done, are the two major countries that buy Russian oil.
Ah.
So
Ah. Yeah.
now all of a sudden Donald Trump needs to put pressure on India and China and because in China their negotiations are up August 12th. It's
Yeah.
so specific, because people were like, why all of a sudden the media is like, oh, Donald Trump, the best part, like, is when they said the reason why Donald Trump went from 50 days to 10 days was
Yeah.
because Melania mentioned Ukraine, and Donald Trump had a heart, and all of a sudden didn't want all those people. And he said, you know what, Vlad, we're going to go from
Oh.
50 days to 10 days. Bullshit. Melania doesn't give a shit about Ukraine, and Donald
Yeah.
Trump doesn't have a heart. So let's understand each other. This was strictly as a maneuver to put pressure, not even so much on China, but on India. And it's now
Okay.
it's being played out in front. I mean, everything I wrote about, I'm telling you right now, if you go Google it, I mean, Trump literally just put a post or tweet out a little while ago saying how India is buying all this Russian oil and allowing them
Yeah.
to continue this war, trying to blame India. It's all about with Trump. You have to understand one thing: he doesn't just do something for doing it. He does it.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't
Yeah.
do it. It has to be transactional, or or the only other time Trump will do something is when it's very emotional, off the cuff. So he doesn't think things through
Yeah.
unless they have to do transactional. So there's two ways Donald Trump does things. Either because he loses it and he does something off the cuff, you know what I'm saying to you,
Yeah.
or it's a business transaction. It's what do I get to what do you get type of a thing.
What, Lev, I want to close with two more personal questions for you, my friend. And by the way, everybody, this is why you all need to be subscribing to Lev Parnas, because it's just the most fascinating shit. His perspective that he writes about on Substack. You've got to subscribe to Lev. Lev, this guy's in the White House for another 3.5 years. What is your biggest fear for the next 3.5 years for America?
My biggest fear is the next year. My biggest fear is 2026. Because if we do not get back our democracy through a branch, if we don't get one of these branches, and hopefully two
Yeah.
of these branches, to be able to start doing what they're supposed to, and having oversight, and doing subpoena power investigate, instead of like you have James Comer now using the subpoena power
Yeah.
to frame a network, not to go
Yeah.
after get to the truth, but to frame a narrative and rewrite the Epstein history, to go after Obama and Comey. I mean, this is what they're using the subpoena power for, to distract, to again cause what's it called. But that's what we and I talk about, because if we allow him to somehow rig 2026 and do it, then it's not, it's over with, because it doesn't matter. It's not even about 2028 anymore, because it doesn't matter if he'll stay in power or if he'll put somebody else in power over that, or him. He will control, and we will live in a dictatorship for until we'll have a revolution of some sort
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
something really pushes, until it comes to a point where people just say, fuck it, we're gonna do it, because that's what we're leading. But for that to stop and for us to have a
Yeah.
chance, my biggest fear, that's why I say right now, you see, right now they've given us they've opened your eyes, Democrat leaders, not
Yeah.
people. I talk to a leader, and that's why I'm trying to get to Gavin Newsom right now and talk to him, because I think he needs somebody like me that really understands, and to use my inside information and my contacts, not to be able to just write letters, but for him to
Right.
basically use it against Donald Trump, because right now this is what we need. Somebody like that to go in there and right now crush them, and what this is going on with what's happening with Epstein. But that's what my biggest fear is, that he right now behind the scenes, while we're distracted by all this shit,
Yeah.
that he's using ICE to intimidate and to scare, and he's
Hmm.
probably going to do it even more and more when it comes to elections. He's going to have ICE around balloting boxes, around
Yeah.
polling stations. So just think about how many people are not going to show up. Then he has right now Pam Bondi rewriting actual DOJ policies about who you could prosecute, who you can't prosecute, what is
Yeah.
considered a crime when it comes to election violations, election fraud. Just think about how many people are going to get arrested, and for just because they have a different party affiliation. What I'm saying to you, he's trying to cancel early voting, trying to cancel mail-in voting. I mean, these are
Amen.
all these things that are happening right now that he's doing, and we're not even talking about that. He could literally, if he feels that it's not going his way, do the ultimate is called
Yeah.
insurrection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically just take away the elections. And what nothing's going to stop, because people scream, "Oh, that we're going to rally." Well, how come we're not rallying in the streets when they're arresting Americans and throwing them
Right.
into prison?
Right.
I don't see us running with picks in the streets.
No.
Yeah, everybody's like outraged. We're okay, but we're letting it happen, and that's what my biggest fear is, that we keep allowing it to happen.
Uh, 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 Preach, my brother, and I hope everybody internalized what you just said, because you're spot on. That's my fear. Um, Lev, last question. You have been, I've been through a hellish journey the last number of years. You've been through a hellish journey in the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Just personally, everything you've been through, my friend, how's this impacted you personally?
Oh, it's been a roller coaster is an understatement. Impacted me in a lot of different ways. You know, one day I think I'll be able to really look back at it and appreciate and of what I've become and what will be. But the journey has been really tough, you know, for me, for
Yeah.
my especially for my family. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, me as a human being, you know, I consider myself a big boy. I could deal with it, and you know, it's like you don't do the crime, you don't do the time, you can't do the time. I live in a different model, but the pressure and the effect it took on my family and my kids and my wife, you know, and it was difficult. It's still difficult. I mean, I have
Yes.
my oldest son. I mean, Aaron Parnas. A lot of you guys know him.
Yep.
Is out there,
Yep.
you know. Because of what happened in my life, changed his life. I mean, he was one of the youngest lawyers in the country, you know, getting his law degree at 21,
Boy,
thinking
Lev, he
about
does great work. He
and
does great
yeah,
work.
incredible. And I'm so proud of him. I never could imagine this is the path he's
Yeah.
going to take. But because of him watching everything I went through, watching how, you know,
Yeah.
how the media and with the war in Ukraine and with our family there, you know, it really, you know, took him into a path where now he's fighting alongside, you know, let me reframe myself. I'm fighting alongside him now.
Yeah.
You know, he's the
Yeah.
leader of the family where, you know, and I'm extremely proud, you know. So yeah, so
You are
it's all
you are now known of as Aaron Parnas's dad, baby.
yeah.
You are.
What 100%. I remember before he was like, you know, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
Aaron Parnas, the son of Lev Parnas. Now it's like Lev.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Aaron's son, dad. Oh, okay, we'll talk. And I
But
love it.
I love it. I love it. But I love you, my friend, because again, I don't care how young or old you are, you're going to fight till you drop. I will
Oh,
fight
absolutely.
out till I drop because you and I love this democracy. If you're listening and you're subscribing to me, please subscribe to Lev. If you subscribe to Lev, subscribe to me. We're all in this together, baby. Lev, you are the best, brother. Can't
Joe,
wait to talk to you again, my friend.
Joe, God bless you, brother. Thank you so much for having me, and for all of you out there. Well, I'm going to leave you on this note. We are right now living through a part of history that one thing we're going to be judged on is what we do. And
Amen.
the one thing we can't do is do nothing. Each and every one of us could close your eyes for 2 seconds right now and think about what can I do to help save our democracy. It's making a phone call to your local congressman or senator. It's writing an email. It's going out there, putting maybe a picket in front of your yard, you know, making a sign on there, no kings. It's
Yep.
going to your protests when we have those protests to go out there and make your voices be louder heard. Most importantly, it's being our extension of our voices, of our messages. We don't do this because we're running a reality show. We're doing this, Joe, me, others like Michael and others. We're risking things to be able to bring you the information. So we need you to do your part and go out there, be an extension of our voices, be our megaphone. Make sure that the messages are heard loud and vice because we are fighting a war of
Yep.
misinformation, a war to save our democracy. And each and every one of you could subscribe because subscriptions are for free. And every one of you, that's building a community. And for
Yep.
those of you could go the extra mile and have the wherewithal and thank God are able to become paid subscribers because fighting is not for free. Trust me when I tell you,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
have the corporate machines. I've been part of that. Joe's been part of it. For them,
Yep.
money is not a problem because they push lies and truth. Here to fight disinformation, you have takes twice as hard. So that's why for those of you that can contribute, those of you that can become paid subscribers, those of you that could go the extra mile, God bless each and every one of you because you allow us to be able to keep fighting this, and for those that can't. So each and every one of you could do a job. And that's why
Amen.
me, Joe, are asking you that today, when you are done with this, and for those of you that are going to watch this on tape or rewind, close your eyes for 5 seconds and say to yourself, what can I do to save my democracy? Because doing nothing is not an object. It's not even in our vocabulary. Everybody could do something. So God bless each and every one of you. God bless America. And Joe, thank you for having me, brother. We're going to get our
A-
democracy back.
Amen, Brother Parnas. Thank you, Lev. Talk soon, baby. Everybody else, be
Yes.
brave. Thank you.
Great. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.